Joker believes in one truth above all. Anyone can become just like him. All you need is one bad day. And when you consider his extremely long list of crimes, it's a little hard to narrow down the worst overall. But there's definitely one that stands out for the Clown Prince of Crime. Inside the pages of Injustice Year 1, penned incredibly by Tom Taylor, Joker gave Superman his one bad day. How'd he do it? Well, he used Scarecrow's fear toxin to convince Superman he was duking it out with Doomsday, one of the few beings in the universe that Kal-El doesn't have to hold back against. And at the end of the fight, Superman realized the mistake he had made. Turns out it wasn't Doomsday he was fighting, it was Lois Lane. He had harmed her to the point of death, along with what was growing inside of her. Now, you might think that was enough to set off Superman right then and there, but Joker decided to nuke Metropolis for good measure on top of it. Just because he could. For fun. Which I have a feeling is about to be a party line today. In the aftermath of Avengers vs. X-Men, Captain America formed a unity squad to unite the two groups into one. Instead of inspiring goodwill in the hearts of mutants and humankind alike, it inspired hatred in the heart of Red Skull, who decided he needed to exterminate all of mutant kind. In his first act of anti-mutant major crime, he used a superhuman named Honest John, who could manipulate people's minds to broadcast on national television that people needed to deal with the mutant threat, leading to a lot of killings across the country. Red Skull then upped the evil by swiping the brain of Charles Xavier, who was deceased at the time, and Red Skull merged the professor's mind with his own, giving himself the ability to send out a mass telepathic signal encouraging the people of New York to attack mutants. Yeah, I'm sure you can figure out how that ended up. In an issue of Sandman that DC itself billed as the scariest DC story of all time, Dr. Destiny took over a 24-hour diner and tormented its customers for an entire day. Using the power of Morpheus's amulet, Destiny mind-controlled the patrons of the diner to convince them to complete horrible deeds. Well, the highlight reel included one man chopping off his finger to feed to Destiny, another patron driving a nail into the hand of another, one of them ripping out a man's throat with their teeth, and ultimately all of them lying lifeless at Destiny's feet. The most horrific part of the whole ordeal is just how utterly pointless it all was. When asked why Destiny was doing it, he simply replied, "Because I can." And that might be the scariest reason of all, because it really shows how there's no humanity left in Destiny, if there ever really was any in the first place. What the Purple Man did to Jessica Jones was beyond evil. So his powers are pretty horrific. He can make anybody do what he tells them to do. When he used to make people give him their money or free food, it was often just a lightweight power. However, in Brian Michael Bendis' Alias, he did the worst thing imaginable. Jessica Jones, then known as Jewel, showed up to stop him, and he told her to sit down, and from that moment on, he kept her. In not a good way. While he never physically harmed her, he made her watch as he did awful things to other women. It was a form of torment that left her traumatized until he finally freed her, told her to attack the Avengers, and that left her in a coma, and kind of ended her entire career. So Old Man Logan tells a story of a future gone wrong. The villains have won. America's a wasteland. Wolverine lives a quiet life with his family, mostly left alone by the villains of the past, but is unwilling to help the heroes fight for tomorrow. Wolverine eventually reveals to Hawkeye what happened to him to extinguish his spirit. Turns out, during the villains' craziness against the heroes, Wolverine believed the X-Mansion was totally overrun by supervillains. So he fought hard and with lethal force, and when the fighting was done, Mysterio revealed that every villain that Wolverine thought he had slain was an illusion. Logan had been fighting against his friends. He stood horrified over the mangled remains of his closest buddies, all viciously taken out by his own claws. So Red Skull has just done so many awful things that I kind of had to mention him again today. So Red Skull used the powers of a woman named Kobik, which is a sentient cosmic cube, to replace Captain America's memories with a version of his life in which he's always been secretly loyal to Hydra. This led to the event known as Secret Empire, where Cap helps Hydra take control of the United States. Now, this act was particularly heinous because it wasn't just a move against Captain America. It was a move against everybody who viewed the hero as a symbol of hope, including the outraged fans in real life. Even when Cap eventually returned to his usual America-loving self, the damage to his reputation was done. Like, I remember when this all came to light, way before I ever got interested in comics or heroes, and seeing all my friends in high school frothing at the mouth over how angry they were at this. was really bad. Thanos Annual Edition number 1 revealed the dirtiest deed that Thanos ever did, and it all began with him helping an old lady cross the street. An unlikely beginning to the most evil act ever committed, but Thanos has been one to play the long game when needed. And hey, evil isn't always obvious. So the comic story reveals that during the time when Thanos possessed the Infinity Gauntlet, he was able to use the time gem to pinpoint the exact moment in which he might bring about the greatest number of deaths possible, besides killing half the universe with a snap of his fingers. This led the Mad Titan to a Manhattan street corner where Thanos delayed a bus driver with a glare and, as promised, assisted an elderly woman across the street. What no one realized at the time was that Thanos' apparent random act of kindness averted a chain of events that ultimately would have brought about universal peace. By delaying the bus, Thanos prevented a young woman named Stephanie Kircher from accidentally bumping into a woman named Suzanne, and this prevented the inspiration that would send Stephanie down a path to single-handedly ending world hunger and curing multiple diseases. These breakthroughs in turn would end numerous social ills and turn Earth into a paradise, whose example would inspire other worlds to abandon war and conquest. The twisted icing, or cherry on top of this cake of evil, comes years later, when Thanos visits Stephanie on her deathbed, to not just tell her of the life she would have lived and all the good that would have been done in her name had it not been for his intervention, but to show it to her in a vision. So because of Thanos, Stephanie lived an unaccomplished life and never came close to fulfilling her destiny. She died in tears, knowing for certain how truly wasted her potential had been, and how utterly meaningless her life was in the grand scheme of things, which is awful. There's nothing in the universe Reverse Flash resents more than the happiness of the Allen family. It's well known that Reverse Flash took out Barry Allen's mother, framed his father, but he actually took it a step further. Before dispatching Mrs. Allen, our bad guy systemically ruined the Allens' marriage and made them fall out of love. This both made it more believable to frame Mr. Allen for the offense and ensured that Barry would grow up in an unhappy home. Recently, Reverse Flash made it even worse by going after the other side of the family tree. He used his time travel abilities to befriend and radicalize Barry Allen's future offspring as adults. He then took them back in time to Barry Allen's present and had them destroy Barry's growing up home. Not only has Reverse Flash ruined Allen's past, but he made his future a nightmare as well. So I've already talked about it a bit today, but I know we're all familiar with Thanos' attempts, both in the MCU and the comics, to destroy a significant portion of all life to win the hand of death herself. But did you know he actually achieved his goal at one point and wiped out everything? In Donny Cates' run on Thanos, the title character goes into the future and meets a version of himself that was entirely victorious in his goal. This Thanos had spent thousands of years wiping out not just the heroes of Earth, but every being from every planet. The Black Hand is the leader of the Black Lantern Corps, where the fastest way to join is to kick the bucket. Depicted in Blackest Night, Black Hand began to build a legion of Black Lanterns, mostly comprised of heroes from Earth. He first went to the grave of Bruce Wayne, where he dug up his body and turned him into one of his mindless drones. After doing the same with, Martian Manhunter, he set his sights on living heroes and took out Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and the Elongated Man, who were also forced to join his Dark Legion. Desecrating the graves of Earth's heroes is kind of bad, but forcing them to become villainous zombies is evil enough to go kind of head to head with everything else we've talked about today.
Is evil born or is it made? Today we are going to try and answer that question by counting down some of the X-Men's darkest villains and what happened to make them the way that they are. Hot off the press at number 10, we have a clone of Nathaniel Essex, one of the X-Men's most enduring and sinister foes. So sinister, he had no choice but to become Mr. Sinister. Originally a brilliant Victorian-era scientist obsessed with evolution and genetic perfection, Essex's descent into villainy began after his wife, Rebecca, passed on, cursing him as sinister upon discovering all of his unethical experiments. Transformed and empowered by the ancient mutant apocalypse, Essex adopted the name Mr. Sinister and dedicated his life to manipulating mutant kind, most infamously through cloning, genetic experimentation, and psychological manipulation. Among his darkest acts is orchestrating the ending of the Morlocks, a peaceful underground mutant community, one of the X-Men's worst tragedies. Sinister's cruelty extended to manipulating Cyclops' life, kidnapping his son, Nathan Summers, later Cable, and erasing the existence of Madeline Pryor, a clone that he created, leading to the catastrophic Inferno event. In the modern Krakoan era, Sinister reached new lows by corrupting the mutant resurrection process, secretly implanting his own control over resurrected mutants, and attempting to seize control of mutant society, demonstrating his relentless ambition and utter disregard for life. Up next, at number 9, we have Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. Sabretooth is one of Marvel's most notorious villains, villains, infamous for his brutality and deep-seated rivalry with Wolverine. Born in the late 19th century, Creed's early life was marked by harm and violence and just like really horrible parenting. Sabretooth's origin is further complicated by memory tampering from shadowy organizations like Weapon X, making much of his past just unreliable. His darkest moments are numerous and chilling. He ended Silver Fox, which was Wolverine's lover, and then manipulated an angry Wolverine and grieving Wolverine into ending like an entire town of people. As a merc, Creed became known as the Slasher, ending indiscriminately for pleasure and sport. His cruelty extended to those close to him, and every year he would surprise Wolverine, no matter where he was in the world, for his birthday and just do something evil and diabolical. Silver Fox being the first of the many. Sabretooth's legacy is defined by his relentless savagery, psychological torment of Wolverine, and a history of betrayal and personal tragedy that cements his place among the X-Men's evilest villains. At spot number 8 is the diva that audiences were introduced to last year in Deadpool and Wolverine, Cassandra Nova. She made her big screen debut almost a year ago, but she has been causing problems since her 2001 debut in the comics. Cassandra Nova is one of the X-Men's most chilling villains, born as the Mumadrai, a parasitic psychic entity, at the very moment that Charles Xavier was conceived. She is, in essence, Xavier's dark twin, created from the same genetic material but embodying pretty much everything that he opposes. Even before birth, Cassandra's evil presence was so overwhelming that it triggered Charles's powers to try and eliminate the threat. Surviving this, she spent years reconstructing her body and plotting revenge. Later in life, Cassandra ended up orchestrating the use of Sentinels to end over 16 million mutants, an act of pure, calculated evil that proved that she is one of the most ruthless adversaries the X-Men have ever faced. Her combination of immense psychic power, deep-seated hatred, and utter lack of empathy makes Cassandra Nova a terrifying force. I think it's safe to say that in her case, evil can be born. At number 7 today, we have Madeline Pryor, one of Marvel's most tragic and complex villains. Created by the villain Mr. Sinister as a clone of Jean Grey, Madeline was engineered using Jean's genetic material and implanted with false memories, her entire existence designed to manipulate Cyclops, Scott Summers, into falling in love with her and fathering a child, Nathan Summers, later known as Cable, whose genetic potential Sinister coveted. Initially unaware of her origins, Madeline lived a pretty normal life, marrying Scott and starting their family. However, her world fell apart when Jean Grey returned, leading Scott to abandon Madeline and Nathan, which began her descent into darkness. The revelation of her true nature as a clone and a pawn shattered Madeline. Demonic forces exploited her pain and resentment and awakened latent psychic powers and transformed her into the Goblin Queen. In her darkest moment, Madeline struck a deal with demons to open a portal to Limbo, unleashing a demonic invasion on New York City. She attempted to sacrifice her own family, along with others, to cement her power to keep the portal open, but was ultimately stopped by the X-Men. Coming in at number 6, we have Donald Pierce. Donald Pierce is a notorious supervillain, best known as a cyborg and relentless enemy of the X-Men. Born into immense wealth, Pierce inherited his family's fortune and industrial empire, which opened the doors for him to join the elite Hellfire Club, where he rose to the rank of White Bishop. Despite his high standing, Pierce harbored a deep-seated hatred for mutants, joining the Hellfire Club not for power or prestige, but with the secret goal of exterminating its mutant members. His transformation into a cyborg began after a brutal defeat at the hands of Cable, which left him grievously injured and dependent on advanced prosthetics, fueling his self-loathing and further intensifying his anti-mutant crusade. Pierce helped create and lead the Reavers, an army of cybernetically enhanced criminals whose sole purpose was the eradication of mutants. Under his command, the Reavers captured Wolverine, torturing him before Jubilee intervened to save that hero. Even after apparent deaths and defeats, Pierce repeatedly resurfaced, orchestrating evil actions and mass endings, cementing his legacy as one of the X-Men's most relentless and ruthless foes. At our halfway point, we have Selene. Selene, known as the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, is one of Marvel's oldest and most powerful mutants, with an origin stretching back literally thousands of years. Born to a tribe that recognized her unique powers, Selene's mother passed at her birth, and the elders commanded the tribe to sacrifice themselves to the little Selene, allowing her to feed on their life force and become their sole survivor. Over the millennia, Selene has wandered the world, using her psychic vampirism to sustain her immortality. and has been responsible for countless atrocities, including commanding an entire city by force, entire cities such as Nova Roma, triggering the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and orchestrating wars for her own gain. Among her most notorious acts is the Necrotia event, where she resurrected millions of deceased mutants from Genosha, absorbing their souls to ascend to godhood, and waging a war against the X-Men with her undead army. Selene's legacy is defined by her insatiable hunger for souls, manipulation of powerful organizations like the Hellfire Club, and a body count that ranks among the highest in X-Men history. In spot 4, we have Dark Phoenix. Not Jean Grey as like a whole person, specifically we're talking Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix is the villainous form of Jean Grey, a powerful mutant who becomes host to the cosmic Phoenix Force, a vast nexus of energy. Jean's psyche is twisted and she transforms into Dark Phoenix, a destructive and uncontrollable entity. One of her darkest moments, and perhaps the most infamous, is when Dark Phoenix consumes an entire star to replenish her power, causing a supernova that destroys the Debari planet and annihilates their entire alien race. This act marked a turning point in her story, leading to her eventual sacrifice. Overwhelmed by the destruction that she caused and the threat that she poses, Jean chooses to save the universe from further harm. Dark Phoenix remains one of the most tragic and complex villains in the X-Men saga, embodying the struggle between immense power and the loss of self-control. Getting into our top 3 today, we have Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw is one of the X-Men's most dangerous foes. A traumatic event triggered the manifestation of Sebastian's mutant ability, the power to absorb kinetic energy and convert it into superhuman strength. Driven by ambition and intellect, Shaw quickly rose from humble beginnings, getting rich through his company Shaw Industries, which specialized in defense contracts and munitions. His wealth and influence led to his recruitment into the secretive Hellfire Club, where he ultimately seized control as the ruthless Black King, manipulating both mutants and humans to achieve that goal. He was instrumental in funding and advancing the Sentinel program, designed to hunt and end mutants, using his position to control and weaponize anti-mutant sentiment for his own ends. His ambition led him to betray and end rivals within the Hellfire Club. Despite frequent defeats and betrayals on his part, Shaw remains a symbol of ruthless ambition, manipulation, and the dark potential of unchecked power within the Marvel Universe. But today's runner-up is none other than William Stryker. Stryker is driven by a fanatical hatred of mutants that stems from a deeply personal and tragic origin. Stryker's life took a dark turn when his wife gave birth to a mutant son. Horrified by his child's nature, Stryker ended both the wife and son, then attempted to end himself but survived, and interpreted that as a sign that he was chosen by God to wage war against mutants. Okay, this conviction led him to become a charismatic televangelist and the founder of the Purifiers, a parliamentary group dedicated to mutant ending. He orchestrated the abduction and brainwashing of Professor Xavier, aiming to use his telepathic powers to exterminate all mutants, a plan that forced the X-Men to ally with their enemy at the time, Magneto, to stop him. He also attempted to publicly end Kitty Pryde on live TV, only to be stopped by law enforcement. Over the years, Stryker escalated. He was resurrected as a cyborg, led new incarnations of Weapon X, and oversaw horrific experience to create mutant-ending cyborgs and even Hulk mutant hybrids. Despite his evolving methods and occasional brushes with the supernatural and technological, Stryker remains defined by his relentless intolerance. And finally, in the top spot today is Magneto. Max Eisenhart, better known as Magneto, is one of Marvel's most complex and truly tragic villains. Born to a Jewish family in Germany in the 1920s, Max's early life was marked by the horrors of the Big Event during World War II. His family was captured by the evil army and sent to the camps, where Max witnessed the ending of his loved ones and was forced to assist his captors in operating the camp's machinery, a trauma that caused the emergence of his mutant powers. After the war, he adopted the name Eric Lenscher and tried to build a new life, but tragedy struck again when his daughter Anya passed in a fire caused by an anti-mutant mob, an event that pushed him over the edge, and in a fit of rage, Max unleashed his powers, ending those responsible and cementing his path as Magneto, the self-declared protector of mutant kind willing to use any means necessary. His darkest moments include founding the Brotherhood of Mutants to wage war against humanity, acts of mass violence, and a willingness to sacrifice innocence for his cause, all fueled by the conviction that mutants must dominate to avoid the persecution he once suffered. Magneto's story is defined by loss, vengeance, and the enduring scars of his past, making him a villain whose actions are inseparable from the pain and injustice of his origins. After the success of films like Joker, the first one, Megamind, and Morbius, unfortunately, plus all that buzz for Thunderbolts tonight, villains are hot right now. Here are some villains that we hope to see on the big screen sometime pretty soon. Up first, taking that 10th spot is Magneto. Magneto has been featured heavily in many movies, but he hasn't had his own true solo moment. Magneto actually almost got his own solo film. It was going to be part of an X-Men Origins series, X-Men Origins Wolverine being the first, but unfortunately there were a bunch of issues both outside the project and inside that just made the film too hard to make and it was scrapped. Though fans did get a condensed look at Magneto's origin in the prequel X-Men film, so at least we got something. But Magneto deserves his own movie because he is one of the most complex and compelling characters in the Marvel Universe, with a rich backstory rooted in real historical trauma. Magneto's worldview and stance on mutant supremacy stem from his harrowing experiences, which then drive his fierce determination to protect mutants from similar fates. This deep personal history adds layers of moral ambiguity to his character, making him more than your typical villain and more of an anti-hero, whose extreme methods contrast with his genuine desire for mutant survival and justice. His ideological conflict with Professor X over mutant-human coexistence further enriches his narrative, providing a powerful exploration of themes like fear, prejudice, and the cost of survival. Additionally, Magneto's immense powers, leadership of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and evolving role from villain to occasional ally offer dynamic storytelling potential that merits a standalone film to fully explore his motivations, struggles, and his impact on the mutant world. Next up is The Sphinx. A film about the Sphinx would be a blend of ancient mysticism, tragic immortality, biblical texts, and complex motivations. He was once the chief wizard under Pharaoh Ramesses II. He was banished after his magical prowess was deemed inferior to Moses. His discovery of the sentient Ka stone granted him immortality and vast superhuman powers, launching him into 5,000 years of wandering the earth, often intervening in human history out of boredom and existential despair. Unlike many villains, the Sphinx is driven not by a lust for power alone, but by a deep desire to end his own endless existence, making his story both epic and deeply personal. His encounters with legendary figures, mastery of both mystical and technological arts, and his role as a major adversary to heroes like Nova and the Fantastic Four provide a rich narrative material for a film that could explore themes of purpose, obsession, and the burden of immortality. Plus, anything that has to do with ancient Egypt and archaeology, it does well and it's interesting and I would like to see it. The combo of historical intrigue, philosophical depth, and superhuman spectacle makes The Sphinx a compelling candidate for a standalone cinematic exploration. At number 8, because she ate, is Stained Glass Scarlet. Now, I must admit that this is a bit of a biased pick because I'm personally very fascinated by her. I love her concept and design, and I really want to see more of her. In her original appearance, she was one of those one and done, one issue, that's all kind of antagonist to Moon Knight, but luckily someone else was also very interested in the character and decided to bring her back, again for one issue, but this time in the modern age. She was a woman mistreated throughout her life, which led her to seeking revenge and ending people. Eventually, she was ended in a church. However, the story of her life and how she successfully sought revenge made its way around, and pretty soon people started worshipping her and praying to her for revenge against those that wronged them. So many people did this that Scarlet became a god, a metaphysical being made of stained glass. I just think a movie about her could be visually stunning because of these stained glass elements and the fact that it would technically begin a few decades ago. In her first appearances, as a regular woman, she looked like an old Hollywood star in a floor-length gown, absolute diva. Plus, she's a Moon Knight villain, and Moon Knight is also very interesting, and I want to see more of him too, so it's two birds, one stone. At number 7 is a pick that is also pretty self-indulgent, Calendar Man. I love this Batman villain, he is so ridiculous. Calendar Man has already appeared as a small character in a couple movies and TV series, but A, I want to see more, and B, it isn't the version of the character that I want to see featured in these movies. The Calendar Man, heavily featured now in comics, video games, movies, he's really edgy. They made him grittier for modern audiences, and I do get that, it had to be done. But the Calendar Man that I want a movie for is the camp one, the one that themes his attacks to the holidays. The guy that changed his villain outfit 6 times in one issue to make sure that he was on theme with the crimes that he was committing. The guy that dressed like a snowman and a daisy and wore the moon as a helmet. The version that has appeared so far is not really that guy. The current guy is still obsessed with the calendar, of course, I mean it's in the name, but his expression of that is more tough guy. He's got a tattoo around his head of the months. The Harley Quinn show kind of combined this modern idea and the older versions of the character, which I did appreciate, but just imagine an animated movie about this guy, like a Christmas Batman special or something. Coming in at number 6 is Vandal Savage. He is compelling and unique with a narrative scope that spans the entirety of human history. As an immortal who has influenced and manipulated major events from the rise and fall of empires to some of history's darkest moments, Savage offers a villain whose motivations are rooted in a millennia of experience, cunning, and ambition. His origin gaining immortality, genius-level intellect, and superhuman abilities from a prehistoric meteorite, it sets him apart from typical antagonists, allowing for a movie that would blend historical drama, science fiction, and modern superhero action. Savage's complex psychology, ruthless pursuit of power, and ability to adapt across eras makes him a formidable foe for heroes like the Justice League, Batman, and the Titans, while his personal relationships add depth and emotional stakes to the character. A film centered on Vandal Savage would not only explore the dark side of immortality and the burden of endless ambition, but also provide a fresh, epic-scale perspective within the superhero genre, appealing to fans of both historical fiction and comic book action. And at the halfway point, coming in at number 5 is Kulan Gath. Kulan Gath should get feature film treatment because of his unique origin, his terrifying powers, and the fresh narrative possibilities that he would bring to the screen. Unlike many Marvel antagonists, Kulan Gath began life as a child worker who, after years of harm, ended his tormentor and assumed the name of the original Kulan Gath, setting out on a relentless quest for mystical power. Rejected by the Sorcerer Supreme of his era, he turned to darker arts, ultimately resorting to ending people and consuming other magic users, which unleashed a primal bloodlust and made him one of the most dangerous sorcerers in Marvel history. His ability to alter reality, possess hosts across centuries, and transform entire cities into nightmarish versions of this ancient world makes him a threat like pretty much anyone else, capable of challenging not just the individual heroes, but the entire Marvel universe. A film centered around him could explore the themes of trauma, ambition, and the corrupting nature of power, while offering visually stunning sequences of magical warfare and alternate realities. His story would not only introduce audiences to the darker, more mystical corners of Marvel, but also provide a compelling, complex villain whose motivations and methods set him apart from the typical supervillain fare. Now, and I'm assuming you, would have loved a Kang the Conqueror movie. We did get to see the character in the MCU, of course, with Jonathan Majors as Kang in Loki and a bigger role in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but then Majors got into some legal trouble, he was cancelled, and also Quantumania wasn't that great of a movie, and the character of Kang is kind of now just stuck in purgatory. Who knows if he's ever actually gonna come back? There's rumors that he will, and there's rumors that he won't, especially considering that the movies that he was going to be the big bad for were changed to Doctor Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. So who knows if we'll ever actually get a Kang movie, maybe in a few years, and they can recast and make it outside of the MCU or something like that. Hitting the top 3, we have Mephisto, one of Marvel's most powerful and malevolent villains, ruler of a fiery nether realm and drawing strength from the souls of the damned. His immense cosmic power, mastery of manipulation, and ability to alter reality make him a uniquely dangerous foe who has tormented major heroes like Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Thor, and the Avengers throughout Marvel history. Unlike typical villains, Mephisto operates through deceptive bargains and psychological torment, creating deeply personal and high-stake conflicts. His rich backstory as a devilish entity with mysterious origins and his multiversal ambitions add layers of complexity that would translate well to a dark, compelling cinematic narrative. Moreover, his iconic role in pivotal storylines such as Spider-Man: One More Day and his ongoing multiverse war against the Avengers highlight his significance and potential as a central antagonist, making a solo film about Mephisto a thrilling exploration of evil and power in the Marvel Universe. And for our runner-up, we have The One Below All. The One Below All deserves their own movie because they represent the ultimate embodiment of evil and destruction in the Marvel Universe, serving as the dark cosmic counterpart to the One Above All, Marvel's supreme being. Unlike typical villains, The One Below All is not just a threat to an individual hero, but to the entire multiverse, seeking to end the cycle of creation itself and leave nothing but emptiness and silence. Their influence is deeply tied to the origins of gamma energy, making them central to the Hulk's mythology and the stories of all gamma mutates, which would allow for a film that explores both cosmic horror and the psychological depths of characters like Bruce Banner, for example. The One Below All's ability to possess and corrupt powerful beings, including the Hulk and the Leader, adds layers of existential dread and personal stakes, culminating in apocalyptic scenarios. A movie centered on The One Below All would not only introduce audiences to Marvel's most profound and terrifying force, but also explore themes of creation, destruction, and the duality of existence on a scale never before seen in superhero cinema. And finally, our top choice today, the Batman Who Laughs. I love this villain. He is so interesting, especially because he was once the ultimate hero, Batman. For a man that is so good at being a hero, it makes sense that he would also be so good at being a villain. The story behind the Batman Who Laughs is very, very interesting, and of course it provides plenty of opportunities for commentaries to be made on Batman, the real one, and vigilantism. The character design is haunting, and it's chilling, and it's hard to look at, and it would be easy to translate from the comics to the screen because it is just a guy. Plus, the character is made up of some of the most commercially successful characters ever, the Batman and the Joker. Put them together, and yeah, you're going to make money. The only thing that I imagine that's stopping this movie from being made is they just rebooted Batman, the Joker 2 just flopped, and you kind of need an established Batman to make this work better. The Batman Who Laughs I think would maybe work as an animated film, but I will take whatever they give me. Welcome back, nerds! Today we are getting into the ultimate set of villains, the ones that would stop at nothing until the entire universe either falls at their feet or is completely wiped out. So let's get into it. Starting us off today, we have Annihilus. With a name like that, I mean, come on, the signs are neon. Annihilus, the insectoid warlord from the Negative Zone, is infamous in the Marvel Universe for coming way too close to destroying all of life. His most devastating campaign occurred during the Annihilation event, where he unleashed the Annihilation Wave, a massive insectoid army through a portal into the positive universe. This invasion razed worlds, decimated the Nova Corps, and left the cosmic landscape in ruins, threatening the very fabric of existence. Annihilus's ultimate goal was the total extinction of all life, driven by his obsession with immortality and his belief that only by eradicating all other beings could he ensure his own survival. He even managed to capture and weaponize Galactus, intending to use the cosmic entity's power to obliterate the universe. It was only through the combined efforts of cosmic heroes like Nova, the Silver Surfer, and the intervention of Galactus himself that Annihilus was ultimately defeated, narrowly averting universal annihilation. Coming in at number 9 is a character not really known as a villain, but she did have one of the most catastrophic crash outs the MCU has ever seen and caused a lot of pain, so I fear that she is making the list. Wanda Maximoff, known as the Scarlet Witch, is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, possessing reality-altering abilities fueled by chaos magic. Her immense power has repeatedly brought her to the brink of destroying the universe, and one time she kind of did. During the House of M storyline, Wanda's grief and instability led her to reshape all of reality, creating an alternate world, and then, with a single phrase, "No more mutants," erasing the mutant gene from existence for nearly all mutants across the globe. This act permanently altered the fabric of reality and was so complex that even Doctor Strange warned that attempting to reverse it could unravel the entire universe. Wanda's manipulation of reality and the multiverse has threatened not just her own world, but all of existence, as her unchecked powers have the potential to cause multiversal incursions, collisions between universes that can result in mutual destruction. Her actions, often driven by trauma and loss, have made her both a feared and very tragic figure, teetering on the edge of annihilating the universe that she desperately wishes to protect. In spot 8 is Parallax. Parallax, one of the most horrifying villains in the DC universe, is the living embodiment of fear. He's so ugly and a major adversary of the Green Lantern Corps. Parallax nearly destroyed the universe during the 0-Hour Crisis in Time storyline when it possessed Hal Jordan and drove him to madness after the destruction of Coast City. Seeking to undo his pain and loss, Parallax/Hal Jordan attempted to rewrite history by absorbing vast amounts of energy and remaking the universe according to his will. This catastrophic plan resulted in the near erasure of existence itself, with billions of lives lost and reality essentially unraveling until the combined efforts of DC's greatest heroes managed to stop him and restart the universe. Parallax's immense power, capable of manipulating reality, time, and instilling fear so profound it could collapse entire civilizations, places it among the most dangerous threats ever faced by the DC multiverse. Number 7, the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is one of the most powerful and feared entities in the Marvel Universe, embodying both the creative spark that gave life to the cosmos and the potential to consume it entirely. Its most infamous act of near universal destruction occurred during the Dark Phoenix saga, when, bonded to Jean Grey, it was overwhelmed by its own hunger and destructive impulses. In this state, the Phoenix Force consumed the energy of an entire star, causing the star to go supernova and annihilate the planet Dabari and its billions of inhabitants, as well as threatening the stability of the surrounding star systems. The catastrophic event demonstrated that the Phoenix Force's capacity to destroy vast portions of the universe, and it required the intervention of the Shi'ar Empire and the sacrifice of Jean Grey to prevent further devastation. The Phoenix Force has repeatedly shown that when unchecked or bonded to a host that's unable to control its power, it possesses a threat not just to planets but to the fabric of existence itself. Our number 6 is Doctor Doom. Victor Von Doom, or Doctor Doom, is one of Marvel's most complex villains, infamous for his genius-level intellect, mastery of both science and sorcery, and relentless ambition. He somehow treads the line between hero and villain despite being a massive headache to whatever true superhero is the closest. On at least one occasion, Doom's actions have nearly led to the destruction of an entire universe. Driven by jealousy and an unwillingness to accept a version of himself that was better or more noble, Doom's pride pushed him to catastrophic extremes, and he destroyed a universe rather than let go of his ego and accept his own limitations. This act was emblematic of his character. His overwhelming need to prove his superiority, especially over his rival Reed Richards, often results in consequences that threaten not just Earth, but pretty much all of reality. Doom's willingness to wield cosmic power and manipulate reality itself has repeatedly brought the Marvel Universe to the brink of annihilation, cementing his legacy as one of the most dangerous beings in existence. So I'm super excited to see what universal chaos he causes on the big screen next year. And at the halfway point, taking spot number 5 from a galaxy far, far away, we have Palpatine. So some Star Wars in here just to switch it up. Somehow, Palpatine returned. Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, take your pick, is one of the most dangerous and cunning villains in the Star Wars universe. A master of the dark side of the Force, Sidious orchestrated the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of the Galactic Empire, manipulating galactic events from the shadows for pretty much decades. His ultimate ambition was nothing less than total domination, and at the height of his power, he came too close to destroying the universe. In Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Sidious returns with a terrifying plan to unleash the Sith fleet and take over Rey's body, threatening to annihilate all resistance and plunge the galaxy into eternal darkness. His schemes nearly succeeded, and if not for the courage and sacrifice of the Jedi and their allies, he would have extinguished hope and freedom across the cosmos, remaking the universe in his own twisted image. In spot number 4, Galactus. I mean, this one is kinda tough because I think it was later revealed that Galactus didn't want to eat all the planets, but I mean, he did eat a bunch of planets. Galen, originally a mortal from the highly advanced planet Ta in a universe that existed before the current one, became the cosmic entity known as Galactus after surviving the destruction of his reality. As his universe collapsed, he merged with the sentience of the sixth cosmos, imbued with the power cosmic. Galactus's existence is defined by an insatiable hunger that compels him to consume entire planets, a process that has repeatedly brought him to the brink of destroying the universe itself. On several occasions, Galactus's actions and the scale of his hunger have posed existential threats to all life, such as when his consumption of worlds risked destabilizing the cosmic balance, or when beings like Annihilus attempted to use Galactus as a weapon to annihilate the universe. Despite his destructive nature, Galactus is not driven by malice, but by necessity, making him a unique figure, a cosmic force whose survival is intertwined with the cycle of creation and destruction that governs the Marvel cosmos. Entering the top 3, we have the Anti-Monitor. The Anti-Monitor is one of the most intimidating threats in the DC universe, infamous for nearly annihilating all existence during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Born in the antimatter universe, he unleashed a devastating antimatter wave, or like blast, that swept across the multiverse, erasing countless universes and ending trillions in his quest to expand his own dark realm. As he absorbed the energies of destroyed worlds, his power grew, allowing him to manipulate reality, travel through time, and even attempt to prevent the creation of the positive matter multiverse itself. The Anti-Monitor's campaign of destruction was only halted by the combined efforts of heroes and cosmic entities, culminating in a final battle where he was ultimately defeated, but not before his actions resulted in the collapse of the original multiverse and the birth of a new singular universe. His near success in erasing all of reality cements his legacy as perhaps the greatest existential threat the DC Cosmos has ever faced. Our runner-up is, of course, Darkseid. Even his name makes me mad. I always wanted to say Darkseid, but I know that it's Side. Darkseid, the tyrannical ruler of Apocalypse and one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, has repeatedly come close to destroying the universe in his relentless pursuit of the anti-life equation, a cosmic formula that would allow him to eliminate all free will and subjugate every living being to his will. During the events of Final Crisis, Darkseid succeeded in unleashing the anti-life equation on Earth, corrupting humanity and warping reality itself, which caused space-time around the planet to collapse and threaten the very fabric of the universe. His actions nearly resulted in the total domination and destruction of all existence, requiring the combined efforts of the Justice League, the New Gods, and other cosmic entities to stop him. Darkseid's ambition and power make him not only a threat to Earth, but a danger to the entire universe, and his ultimate goal is to reshape all of creation in his own dark image. And finally, we end with Thanos. Thanos, one of Marvel's most dangerous villains, came really close to destroying the universe, and some stories he did, through his relentless quest for the Infinity Stones. Driven by the belief that wiping out half of all life would save the cosmos from overpopulation and eventual ruin, Thanos systematically collected all 6 Infinity Stones, each representing a fundamental aspect of existence: space, time, reality, power, mind, and soul. Once he assembled the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos unleashed its combined power in an event known as the Snap, or the Blip to those that didn't see him snap, instantly erasing half of all living beings across the universe. The act not only caused unimaginable loss and chaos, but also demonstrated Thanos' willingness to reshape reality itself to achieve what he saw as balance. Recognizing that others might try and reverse his actions, Thanos later used the stone's own power to destroy them, nearly eliminating himself in the process and ensuring that no one could undo his devastation. His actions left the universe forever changed and underscored just how close he came to total annihilation on a cosmic scale.
Khonshu is a member of the Ennead, the Heliopolitan race of gods that were worshipped by the people of ancient Egypt. He is the god of the moon, who also prided himself in being the protector of travelers in the night. Not being able to enter the earthly plane, Khonshu has picked countless champions throughout history to work as an avatar and be guided by his will. He can manipulate mystic energies for supernatural effects, such as, simple little things: interdimensional teleportation, telepathy, healing the injured, resurrection, earthquakes, and I'm forgetting something. Right, granting superhuman powers to mortal beings. He can also steal the power of other magical heroes and store them in Ankhs. At one point, I think he managed to get a hold of the powers of Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, and even the Sorcerer Supreme himself, Doctor Strange. Khonshu possesses superhuman durability that allows him to withstand unspecified levels of injury. So yes, while it is possible to injure this god, his healing factor is completely out there. So good. He can control moon rocks and everything that is made out of them, such as, a little thing known as Mjolnir, which is made of Uru, the remnants of a dead celestial body. Now, while Khonshu doesn't wield any weapons of his own, he's bestowed power upon at least several over time, making him quite the threat. X-23 has always been one of the most popular mutants in Marvel ever since her introduction, so it only makes sense that she has a villain of her own. And this is where Haymaker comes in, an interesting villain for a couple of reasons. But one of the most notable is that Jordan Gaston is non-binary, allowing for representation to burst into comics for heroes and villains alike. But what makes Haymaker a great villain is not only their past as a martial arts fighter that was injected with the mutant growth hormone, but the fact that they personally have a bone to pick with Laura Kinney, since she offed their brother years ago. Not only is Haymaker a great fighter, but they also have grenades that can depower mutants, evening the odds against X-23. With Lex Luthor behind bars yet again, it's time for Superman to face a new foe. But what could be worse than Luthor? But a man who despises both the Man of Steel and Lex equally? Graft was introduced in the first issue, and his plans are still unfolding. An old enemy to Lex, but a new adversary to Superman, Graft is an intelligent villain who has tried to bring Metropolis to its knees. In issue number 4, it is revealed that they are using Kryptonian science to enhance Superman's foes, which makes any attack incredibly specific to Superman on both a physical and cultural level. Quite frankly, the Doctors have turned the worst parts of Krypton's legacy against Superman, because these are things that have already caused him harm before, and this experimentation only makes things more dangerous. And it's proof that somebody's not above making deep cuts to destroy their enemies, and their success thus far means Superman is going to need all the help he can to stop them. As the leader of the assumed secret order of mad scientists, Graft has been tinkering and upgrading a lot of villains. We're talking Parasite and dissecting familiar faces like Bizarro. The experiments are far from over, and Superman is still preparing for what Graft throws at him and the Super Corps next. But what is known is that this villainous genius is not done, and that's scary. Red Mask is technically an original character, even if his ties to the Joker are a little too close for comfort to me. Darwin Halliday may have been a great chemist and the CEO of Halliday Industries, but his constant strive to fix the emptiness within caused him to become the Joker in a parallel universe. And ever since, Darwin has been obsessed with recreating multiversal experiments to drive himself to the same madness that created the Joker, so that he could be free of limitations. Now, Darwin has realized he could never become the Joker, but he's determined. And with a villain like this, creating new Jokers for realities where Joker does not exist, has not been created yet, or is dead, there is much to fear, providing Batman and readers with a fearsome proto-Joker that leads Batman to hop through the multiverse, encountering other Batmen. The Lazarus Reign saw many new heroes and villains arrive on the scene, with one of them being Christopher Lee, assuming the identity of Insomnia. Now, Insomnia first appears in Dawn of DC, Night Terror Special Edition, and this is where we get our first glimpse of this villain that can summon dreams, conjure illusions of others, travel between the real world and the nightmare realm, and alter his physical appearance while in the nightmare realm. This powerful being had the power to invade and trap heroes and villains within twisted amalgamations of their own nightmares, keeping them suspended in the frightening realities of the creations they conjured in their sleep. Do you know how terrifying that is? Insomnia has made for a great horror-themed villain with a grudge against the Justice League for their failure to save his family during the Dark Knight's Metal incident. So with Insomnia at the helm of villainy, this monster has nothing left to lose, and nothing but hatred for heroes as he terrorizes others within their own minds. Like, get out of there, my mind's already awful enough to me. Thank you. Technically, Gorgon died in X of Swords, but bear with me here. This was after joining the mutant nation of Krakoa, becoming one of its captains, but before that they were a very reliable villain. They're a mutant with telepathy, transmutation, superhuman physical attributes, also a polymath genius, and extremely skilled hand-to-hand combatant, even leading the hand for a period of time. Gorgon made quite the impact during his debut, and at the end of the day, his strongest feat remains his fist. He was able to sneak up on Wolverine completely undetected and kill him with one strike, piercing his lungs, so he constantly was just like Look, Wolverine is ridiculously hard to hurt, and it takes expert knowledge of anatomy, skill, and strength to overcome his adamantium skeleton and healing factor. And also his senses make it almost impossible for you to get the drop on him. I don't know, I think Gorgon might be coming back. I know, it's a bit of a stretch, but like, I'm sensing it, folks. Most DC comic supervillains usually get one honest attempt at contesting against a superhero, and while they might reciprocate, their original ambiance of dread might not be as substantial. But that wasn't the case with Vandal Savage. First appearing in Green Lantern issue number 10, Savage was a Cro-Magnon era warrior who gained immortality after finding a mysterious asteroid. And for 50,000 years, Savage would battle many DC heroes, and each encounter would always leave massive destruction in his wake. You don't want to overlook that. The Orcus Initiative is Krakoa's greatest threat. The anti-mutant coalition is composed of the best minds from multiple secret organizations working together to destroy the mutant nation, and Nimrod is their greatest creation. Familiar to longtime fans of the X-Men, a Nimrod unit is the ultimate sentinel and usually can only be created with technology from the distant future. So Nimrod has proven to be a powerful addition to Orcus's arsenal, despite not being the most well-known villain. By the way, Nimrod has also pulled off a pretty impressive feat of his own. He and Omega Sentinel went head-to-head with Magneto and Xavier. Nimrod has always been incredible, but seeing him dismantle two of Krakoa's strongest mutants really showed just how dangerous he can be. Another dead one, I know folks, but like, bear with me here. The Apocalypse twins were the offspring of Archangel and the Final Horseman, Pestilence, and when they were younger, they were stolen by Kang the Conqueror, who had them raised in an anti-mutant situation in an alternate future controlled by the Red Onslaught. And they grew up in the most brutal environment imaginable, so they would be powerful enough for schemes. However, they were like, no, we're gonna use our powers to break your hold on us. Then they raided Kang's trophy room, took the axe that Thor had used before he was worthy of Mjolnir, and posing as Loki, Kang had tricked Thor into enchanting it so it could pierce celestial armor, making it a very powerful weapon. So the twins were able to get the drop on a celestial and survived long enough to get in close and kill the cosmic god using the axe. They also planned a mutant rapture. I just can't stress this enough. They stole a weapon that can cut celestial armor from a trophy room to kill somebody, and sending the Celestials to destroy Earth and indirectly all of Earth's futures. And then to ensure their success, they used life and death seeds from the gardener to create the 4 horsemen of death and a lot more. They also had the Scarlet Witch bring all mutants to the Aqaba Ark, sparing them from celestial judgment so they could be delivered to a new paradise. And they're also characters that I think are going to come back. So it's not always common for a villain to be a true pound for pound equivalent to a hero, not just in strength but also in intelligence, cunningness, and drive to achieve their goals. But for Batman, I think Prometheus is his sinister reflection. So with Prometheus, after his criminal parents were killed, he underwent an odyssey remarkably similar to that of Bruce Wayne's. Both a pinnacle in condition and intelligence, Prometheus is a bit of a scourge and ravager upon DC's heroes.
Ego the Living Planet has been shown to counteract/heal those infected by Null, done when he was a baby planet or just a very young planet. As a young planet, he fought Null alongside Silver Surfer, even giving Surfer some extra power for the fight and the win after to bring the universe back to life. Now that Ego is a much older planet and has grown in power, it's not hard to believe that he could hold his own in a fight against Null. Ego currently seems to outrank Null in energy projection, but not in fighting skills. Ego has proven his battle abilities in fights against Galactus. In one instant, Ego had gone insane, and Galactus didn't even engage before he had help. Null was defeated by being thrown into the sun, as light is his weakness. Ego was also thrown into a sun, but instead of being his end, it actually just made him more powerful since it activated his photosynthetic form of revitalization. Chthon, who knows? Everyone says it different, is an elder god of Earth and the planet's first black magic master. He outranks Null in energy projection too, but not in fighting skills and intelligence. There is an argument that Null would win a fight between the two because some Sims of his have defeated Chthon in the past. However, I think there's more to that story. So Chthon was summoned by Carnage but couldn't be controlled. He was only defeated when Jubilee Van Scotter showed up with the Toxic Sim and her own Darkhold Augmented Sim, and Ray is also Darkhold Augmented. The Darkhold was written by Chthon, so technically he was defeated by Null's creations, but only when 2 of them were supercharged with magic he created. Whatever that means. Even if he didn't win, he would certainly make the fight interesting. Dormammu is a puzzling case for this. He's held up against Odin and those in comparable power to Galactus. He was once able to take the powers of the entity Eternity and create his own reality. Dormammu's power come from where he lives and rules the dark dimension. When he is in there, it's been established that there is pretty much no fight he can't win. He could utilize his magical abilities to overpower Null. Dormammu also has all the demons of his realm at his disposal, making a terrifying army. He can also create evil beings like Satanish, for example. The thing is, that all sounds a lot like Null, and if his Sims were able to take control of Dormammu's army, Null suddenly is in a much better place. Dormammu's drawback is that he draws his power from his dimensions. When he leaves it, he gets weaker. In the event that Null and Dormammu were to face off somewhere that wasn't the dark dimension, Null does have a significantly better chance at winning, but probably only if he had his sword and his army. Dormammu has never been killed. If you kill him, you essentially kill his dimension, which is pretty much near impossible to do, and maybe Null is the guy to finally do it. Galactus, deemed a cosmic powerhouse by Thanos, and almost everyone he encounters, he could definitely hold his own against Null. Known as the Devourer of Worlds, Galactus is a cosmic being, meaning he has the power cosmic, which is just unlimited cosmic energy. Battles between Galactus and other equal powers have literally shifted reality. His main weakness is his power has to be nourished. The nourishment in question, planets, whole planets. If he doesn't eat planets, he will starve and die. He has beat mad Celestials, Null has slain a Celestial, so they're on equal footing there. Galactus is destined to be around forever and can move faster than the speed of light, despite the fact that he is 18 tons and just under 29 feet tall. He has the power to throw devastating energy blasts, teleport, resurrect the dead, manipulate souls, mess with time. Galactus might stumble in battle since he is not immune to Null's Sims and Sword all black, as seen in alternate future Earth 14,412, but then Null was also partially defeated when Silver Surfer's surfboard, created by Galactus, was combined with Thor's hammer. Logos is 3 things, and they are all cosmic entities: Master Order, Lord Chaos, and the In-Betweener, who was made by Order and Chaos as their agent of universal balance. They fused together after the Beyonders destroyed the 7th form universe, creating the 8th form. The order of the universe was still being established, so where the Living Tribunal was the top of the food chain last time, that could be changed with with the Reformation. Order and Chaos eliminated the tribunals so they could be the top of multiversal law. They combined together right after that so they could really be at the top, making them Logos. Like Null, they can also kill Celestials, and they did. It's assumed that Logos has unlimited power. Master Order and Lord Chaos were regarded by a gauntlet-wielding Thanos to be more powerful than Galactus. Eventually, Logos was split back into 3 pieces. They were too powerful otherwise altogether. All 3 pieces of the entity outrank Null, so that definitely works in their favor when it comes to a battle with them. Null is claimed to be the incarnation of the Void of Darkness, but he might just be wrong because it actually sounds like that existed long before he did. Oblivion is actually the embodiment of darkness, including the void that Null was floating in and likely what Null used to create his sword and army. This makes me wonder that if, for whatever reason, Oblivion went toe-to-toe with Null, what side would the Sims be on? Sure, there's like the hive mind stuff, but if the thing that they were literally created from joined the battlefield, would they just factory reset? Food for thought. Speaking of food, hunger, yet another entity out of time. This one, like its name suggests, eats any and all forms of matter and energy. Feeding on literally entire realities, there is little, if nothing, that can hurt this thing. As long as it understands what it is eating, its composition, then that meal can't hurt it. Hunger doesn't really have a weakness, he just can't enter a reality without a door into it. If someone were to tear the fabric of your reality, hunger could get in and then will never leave. So as long as that happens, you're good. So to defeat Null, it seems like all one would need to do is tear into the fabric of his reality, and there we go. The only being that has ever defeated this hunger was a Thanos that had absorbed the cosmic beings in his reality, and that was Thanos from reality 81,488. And speaking of, if the omnipotent Thanos 81,488 can absorb the living tribunal and above all others and burn hunger up in his hand, I truly do not believe Null would cause him to break a sweat. This Thanos absorbed a bunch of other powers to get him to the point of being the embodiment of his universe, including Galactus, death, eternity, and infinity, and more. This Thanos doesn't need any infinity stones, he can just do everything, including that of which few characters can, break the fourth wall and talk right to the readers. Somehow, there might be someone even more powerful than everyone else, the Beyonders. Existing outside the multiverse, they claim they were the creations of the Celestials. Really, they were created by the Lost One, who was created by the Celestials, but the Beyonders stole all his power, so there you go. Anyway, some things the Beyonders can do. A Beyonder kid created Secret Wars, that weird like gladiator match from the 80s. The Beyonders launched a coordinated attack where they all attacked the Celestials at the same time and killed all but one. The reason the Beyonders were acting up was because they wanted to destroy the multiverse to get rid of someone else, and then hoped when it restarted that the guy would just be gone. So if you tried to stop them blowing up the multiverse, they had no choice but to go after you too. When the first Beyonder was introduced, he was the most powerful thing ever, able to take out entities like Lord Chaos, Master Order, Eternity, the In-Betweener, Infinity, and Living Tribunal. No matter what, Beyonders can still manipulate reality, they have the power to build entire universes at their fingertips. They can shift realities, just not time travel in the traditional sense, I guess. And finally, the one below all is likely way more powerful than Null or anyone else on this list. The one below is the other half of the one above all, the most powerful being ever. Above all creates, below all destroys, and together they are the beginning and ending of everything. Below all is a destroyer so that one day above all can recreate everything. Below all doesn't really have a brain. As the embodiment of the concept of all things destruction and darkness, it operates purely on impulse, at least that's what Bruce Banner has theorized. Below all is also easily able to warp reality. Banner has a special connection to below all since it's the source of the gamma radiation that created the Hulk. Bruce Banner had another theory that Null was actually connected to the one below all somehow, that he were under his control or an aspect of the mindless beast. The one below all can't create, but his domain, the below place, which he controls, has spawned many an evil entity. Anti-All is one evil being that spawned from this place, and their defeat resulted in these like crystals of him scattering across the universe that then became a bunch of evil avatars of the void. One of these essence crystal things did in fact become Null. Now we can only assume that since Null was theoretically born of Anti-All or darkness that was born of the below place, that the one below all could either control or wipe the floor with Null. That was a lot of mental gymnastics, but what do you think? Let us know. Bye!